So we have some video from Chicago. This actually happened last night as all of us were getting in. So our producer, Mac, is going to go ahead and cue that up. But there was an event. I think it was at Grant Park. Is that right? Anyway, there was an event here in Chicago. And the event was like a DNC type thing. And there was a stage where protesters actually were able to get up on the stage and actually grab the microphone and began shouting to the crowd. So Matt, can we cue that up, please? And we'll play it for everybody. Let's take a listen.
Y'all can do better than that. Mike DeMoney!
150,000 people are dead. You are funding a genocide. The Harris-Biden administration keeps funding money to Israel.
Okay, yeah, so you can see they're taking the stage there. And then our very own Emily, actually here on the ground, had an interview with a protester. Matt, can we go ahead and cue that up? And I will toss to it. But Emily, before we get to that, just tell us about what it was like to walk with some of those protesters. Things are kicking off a little bit right now, too. What did you see when you were there?
Well, obviously we're at the DNC, so you guys made me go talk to the protesters.
That's why you're dressed up like a lefty.
Ryan told me I was dressed like a leftist, and I was like, this is how I always dress.
Just get beaten down. Absolutely.
No, they would love us.
There were people. Met a couple breakers in the wild, which is always fun.
Shout out.
But I talked to a handful of people who were there at the protest. It was big but scattered. So on a couple baseball fields in Union Park here in Chicago. And one of the questions that I wanted to put to protesters is, are you with Kamala Harris or are you uncommitted? And talked to one woman who said she was voting for Kamala, but she was kind of nervous to say that, to be honest, and was like intentionally on the outskirts of the protest.
Looking around.
Right. And I did, though, this was a big takeaway for me. I talked to a few people who said they would genuinely support voting for Kamala Harris if a ceasefire negotiation is reached, if there's a ceasefire agreement that is reached by the Biden-Harris administration, that would legitimately perhaps send them out to vote for Kamala Harris. Now, to be fair, this is a crowd of people who are pretty hard left. There's some Antifa type elements in the crowd, mixing in with the crowd. There's people from the usual Democratic protest groups that go to all of these types of events. But even so, when a potential ceasefire is what brings in this fractional election where there's tug of war over all of these different fractional groups of voters in states like Michigan, there are people from outside of Chicago here, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. When that's what you're doing in this tug of war, young voters in particular, it's possible that and we were just about to talk about that.
Right.
The ceasefire negotiation.
Let's take a listen then to this video that Emily shot with a protester.
Are you going to support Kamala Harris? Are you uncommitted?
She's not getting my vote unless she can permanently cease fire in Gaza and stop sending weapons to kill innocent children and babies.
So, and I talked to a few people who had the exact same perspective. Said, I will legitimately consider voting for the Biden-Harris ticket, or Biden. I sound like the Dem platform, which also we should note began with a land acknowledgement.
Oh, did it really?
Importantly,
wow, I didn't know
that. But there were a handful of people who said, even in this crowd of like genuine leftists who said they would vote for the Harris ticket if there's a ceasefire agreement.
Interesting, Ryan. What do you think?
Right. So the question then becomes, and also, but think, to your point, these are the committed folks,
right?
Who there will be a bigger rally tomorrow, but 1,000, 2,000 people out there today. You think?
Yeah, and it's building to Thursday.
I heard some organizers
right?
trying to say 15,000.
Didn't see that.
But
there definitely was not 15,000.
But these are the hardcore folks. So if even those folks are like, I'm open to voting for Harris, that suggests that there's a real opening there. And the news out of Doha in these negotiations is that Netanyahu had been demanding two key things: IDF control of the Philadelphia corridor, which is the area in Rafah, the border between Egypt and Gaza, and then another checkpoint, IDF control of Netzarim corridor, which would divide North Gaza from South Gaza, which is just utterly insane. Like they're not agreeing to like turning it into another into that, and so he has since Netanyahu has backed away from the Netzarim corridor in exchange for a small but somewhat regulated IDF presence in the Philadelphia corridor, in that border. So it's possible that Hamas could agree to that. And since Netanyahu's already presented it, it's difficult for him to then back out if they say, you know what, we'll take that. We'll see. Like, optimism towards a ceasefire is for suckers. Like, it's been a fool's game the entire time, but it does seem like everyone has an incentive to reach a deal at this point, especially with Iran saying we won't retaliate.
Can you just expand a bit though on a tweet that you put out today? You said the whole Israel portion is a huge slap in the face to uncommitted. Talk to us about that.
By the way, we
in
should
the
have
Democratic Convention.
should have a section in every show dedicated to making Ryan
explain
holding him
his tweets.
accountable for his own tweets.
As long as you don't hold me accountable for my tweets.
Yeah. So the platform was released today,
Yes.
and you can find it on my Twitter feed. I have a link to it there. Starts on the Israel-Palestine part. Starts on page 83, and it reads as if AIPAC wrote it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
This part that jumped out at me here, they have a one-sided condemnation of conflict-related sexual violence aimed only at Hamas, which is taking, now this, like, it was done a couple weeks ago, but still, it's now being published in the context of the Knesset having an open debate about whether the acknowledged rape of Palestinian detainees is legally okay or not.
Right.
Not a question of whether it happened,
Right.
but whether it actually is okay and good that it was done. In that context, to only call out Hamas is a huge slap in the face. But separate from that, it just goes on and says that, you know, the Palestinians are the ones who don't care about a two-state solution. In the context of the Israeli government explicitly, legally, officially, repeatedly saying they do not support a two-state solution. The DNC platform says it's the Palestinians that are the obstacle to a two-state solution.
So then why is the protest?
And it just bashes Iran for like 2 pages.
Right. But then what's up with the protesters, right? Because like you just said, Dave Weigel, who we may be able to get on the show at some point this week, said that, you know, the protest organizers were like, oh, we're going to have 30, 40,000 people. There's nothing close to that.
I've seen it close to 100 reports
yeah.
saying they're expecting
Right.
close to 100,000 people.
Right.
There's we're all here in Chicago. None of us have seen any of that.
We'll
Even
see what they do
monitoring.
tomorrow.
Yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow. Fair,
Cops
fair.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Well, and
there are
this
cops
is-
literally everywhere.
This is actually one of the things I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when you go to these types of events, as we all have in the past, and you cover them, you can feel if there's an air of tension.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not what I felt today. The kids in
I don't see it
strollers,
either.
T-shirts being sold, all of that. I will say, though, to the point Ryan's making about the platform, this is going to be something that speakers, you know, have to confront in one way or the other. It's going to be a question that they're confronted with by delegates in the hallways, and those videos are going to go viral. It's going to be happening all week. And I do wonder if building up to Kamala Harris's speech, the tension starts to build as well.
a good point.
As more and more people are coming for different days of protests. And maybe, Ryan, you even have some knowledge of what these organizers are doing and planning for. But I get the sense it's possible that, you know, right now there's not a lot of tension. Tension could build as people interact with cops throughout the week. This city is blanketed with law enforcement.
crazy.
You guys have all probably noticed that. Blanketed with law enforcement. If there's
Every street corner, it's like New York in the old days. Like it's just literally like 5 cops on the street corner.
if frustration builds,
Yeah.
tension can build. And everyone knows the main address this week is happening on Thursday. So it's possible to me that some of this accumulates throughout the week.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, and the handful of people I know are trying to organize a floor protest. Which
That will be interesting. We'll be
Yeah.
down on the floor for that. So everyone stay. That one thing, just for programming wise, we're doing these before the main events, and then every day after we will summarize previous, give our reaction, and also preview a little bit of what's coming. The reason we're doing it that way is so that we have our passes to be on the floor. So that we can like be there when
Which
the
is
stuff
when
is going down.
That's when stuff happens.
That's when stuff
right.
is happening. Like not only the speeches, but like what you just said. I mean, if we see some floor protests, uncommitted protests, and all that, we'll be able to report what that was like, you know, to be there, and that'll be really interesting, actually.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
I think if they pull it off, I think it'll be really small. And you know, the uncommitted leadership has, you know, a lot of operatives who are also Democrats. Like they are.
Right.
I'm not saying they're not deeply committed to the cause, but they're also Democrats, and they don't want to see Trump elected. So they're caught between their own personal politics and also, the demands of a lot of them to say don't support the Democrats at all.
Right.
Is it possible we think that, I mean, this is appropriately cynical, that the Biden administration is leaking reports of proximity to a ceasefire this week that are way more favorable than reality in order to sort of stanch some of this?
But they couldn't get Netanyahu to say, well, actually,
I don't
they can.
know. I
They
kind of
can
think
tell.
they could.
They can absolutely get Netanyahu to do anything they want. They just have refused up until this point. So it is also possible that the uncommitted pressure is driving the Biden-Harris administration to pressure Netanyahu in a way that they've completely refused to.
But what about even in the battle of
past.
public relations, where we saw that Barack Ravid scoop last week? What is it? Are they trying to frame this as being way closer? Because when I'm out there talking to these protesters, that's really on their mind. Is if there's a ceasefire, that changes their mind about the ticket itself.
That is really interesting.
I mean,
that's like some LBJ Vietnam stuff. If we
Yeah,
think
if
about it.
Humphrey-
1968, yeah,
if Humphrey would've gotten it done.
He almost certainly would have won.
If Nixon and Kissinger hasn't treasonously gone to the Viet
no evidence
Cong.
for that. No evidence for that. I mean, it's true.
Fake news.
There's no actual evidence for that.
we're gonna have to do 1980 now,
people
too.
have looked into it. I'm just saying.
lot
Okay,
of people
guys.
are saying.
I think Mac. Do we have anything
Oh,
else? that we're
Cornel
supposed
West
to talk
showed
about?
up, by the way.
Oh, Cornel
right.
West. That's right.
That's
We were
right.
supposed to put that up there.
He made it.
Mac,
Which,
can
you know
cue
what?
that,
Can I
please?
just say, yeah, so this is
There
the
he
picture.
Yeah,
that
abandoned
David Weigel
Harris.
took.
Wow, I like it.
So this is really interesting to me because we could have be having a very different discussion about this entire convention and election at this point, August 2024, if one of these third-party candidates, be it Cornel West or I think RFK Jr. are the two most likely, to have launched a campaign into, above 10% support, which what we're looking at now with RFK Jr. post Biden dropping from the ticket, it's going down. I think in 538, he's around like 5.5.
He's about 5%, yeah.
So this could have been a dramatically different convention along the sort of 1968 lines had someone like Cornel West really, really got a campaign off the ground.
This is
And he's barely on any
honestly,
ballots.
I'm disappointed for us because the whole reason that we decided, budget-wise, we're like, we can only pick one. Which one do we go to? We go to the DNC because Biden is old, he's fading. We're gonna have crazy protests,
Forcing
Israel
me to go to
Gaza.
both.
Yeah, well, you decided on your own. But my marriage also got in the way because of I was literally getting married the week of the RNC, so it made it a little bit easier. But I mean, a lot of the chaos, it hasn't materialized yet. Now I could be totally wrong, like you said, things could build, things could happen, but the stage is not currently set. At least I think for 1968. Now watch, tomorrow will be the craziest day ever.
We're like Trump.
After I say
we're
that.
like Trump. We want a refund.
Yeah, I want a refund.
I want to talk to the manager.
Yeah.
Comrade Kamala.
I call
her Comrade Kamala.
I was promised complete insanity, and I have not run into it yet, even though we've had the worst logistics of all time.
We deserve a refund.
I don't
Still,
know.
I'm going to keep calling them out for that because I'm still pissed.
Where's my refund? But the RNC, remember they closed the credentials at like 6:30
Yeah,
p.m.
that's
Anyway,
right.
it's always.
I guess it's
something
always
like
just
that.
baked in.
But,
okay, everybody, thank you so much for bearing with us. Reminder, we've got that premium subscriber promo right now. 1 month free trial. What is it? DNC free, all caps, breakingpoints.com. You get a 1 month free trial. Support our work, and you will also be able to participate tomorrow during our live stream. You'll be able to ask us questions and all of that. Crystal will be here in Chicago on Wednesday. We're going to give some exclusive benefits, being able to ask questions, getting the stuff early as well, so don't worry about that. Otherwise, we've got to head over to the United Center to go to the actual convention floor, so we'll see you all tomorrow. We'll recap President Biden's speech and give you all of our reaction, as well as preview what Obama, Clinton, and Kamala all have to say.
And
See you later.
We will be unburdened by what has been.
You look like
will be
Taibbi in
unburdened.
the hat. I can't tell.
You do look a little bit Taibbi, yes. That's true. Okay, we'll see you guys later. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.